When my son discovered my income, he showed up with his lazy wife. You won't believe what happened next. Jim stared at the grease-stained hands that had built a life for his family, hands that had endured the cold of winter mornings and the heat of summer afternoons under the hood of countless cars in his small-town auto shop. He had lived by principles of hard work and integrity, values handed down from his own father. But now, as Tyler stood on the brink of his future, uncertainty gnawed at him like rust on an old engine. Could he have given too much? Would his sacrifices lead to gratitude or entitlement? The joy of Tyler's graduation pulsed beside an unease that tightened his throat. Months ago, Jim received an unexpected promotion, one that promised a more comfortable life, and with the cleanup of the finances, he imagined early mornings filled with fishing rods rather than wrench sets. But this day had grown sour as Tyler brought Jenna, his wife, unannounced. With each dismissive glance at their worn furniture and the creaking floors, Jim's stomach knotted tighter. It was as if she viewed them through a lens of disdain that cut deeper than any tool. Tyler's voice, once buoyant with dreams, now dripped with entitlement. "You can help us out, can't you? This is outdated," he snapped, gesturing around their modest living room. Jim felt the sting of Tyler's words as if they were sharp tools aimed at his pride. Did all those years of scrimping and saving lead to this? Tyler's voice carried Jenna's unvoiced scorn, a harmful echo that pinched at Jim's heart. As they sat at the dinner table, grasping forks more like weapons than utensils, invisible lines were drawn. Tension thickened the air until it was almost suffocating. Where had the boy gone who looked at him in awe? Where was the gratitude for the long hours spent away from home? The dreams deferred for Tyler's sake. Behind his son's eyes, Jim sensed a flicker that both mirrored his own ambitions and sparked an unsettling resentment. "Life's unfair, Dad," Tyler lamented, his frustration simmering over. "The world doesn't reward hard work anymore. It's all about who gets there the fastest. I need support to compete." What Tyler saw as a fight against stagnation felt to Jim like an attack, each word a reminder of the sacrifices he had made. A wave of anger surged, but with it came sorrow. He wanted better for Tyler, yet was this the way to provide it? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Tyler's words hung heavily in the air, Jim felt himself torn between support and self-preservation. Jenna's laugh echoed, mocking. It sparked a fire under his skin, forcing him to confront the young man who had once looked up at him, filled with hope. Jim hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden interruption. The tension in the room dissolved momentarily, replaced by a buzzing anticipation. What lingered behind that door could pivot the course of the evening, and possibly both his and Tyler's futures. He looked at Tyler, whose face was a mix of anxiety and irritation, then at Jenna, whose expression remained impassive, everything about her demeanor radiating the unmistakable air of judgment. "Go answer it," Tyler urged, a hint of impatience threading through his words. As Jim walked toward the door, he mentally steeled himself for whatever confrontation awaited him. Swinging the door open revealed the familiar face of his neighbor, Mr. Collins, standing with an assortment of auto parts, his brows slightly furrowed. "Hey Jim, I was hoping you could take a look at my car. It's making some strange noises again." The pleasant distraction was timely, yet also a reminder of the obligations he had outside his four walls. "Sure, come on in, let me grab my tools." He paused, glancing back at Tyler, suddenly aware of the intricacies of their fragile dynamic. His son needed support, yet the idea of Tyler stumbling into a path defined by shortcuts and handouts made Jim's heart race with concern. As he stepped outside to grab his tool belt, he forced himself to breathe deeply, reflecting on his standing as a father. The heartbreak he felt over Tyler's doubts overshadowed the joy of his promotion and newfound dreams. He pondered whether his own journey of hard work was going to be overshadowed by a generation longing for quick fixes. When Jim returned, Mr. Collins was seated with Jenna and Tyler, engaged in a discussion that failed to mask the fire of discontent. Jim caught snippets of their conversation, particularly Tyler's begrudging comments about unfairness in the world. Stung. Jim felt the instinctual obligation of a father to step in to set things straight. But how could he do so without finding himself in an outright battle? "Let us get that car of yours back on the road, Mr. Collins," Jim said, determined to shift the atmosphere. As he led his neighbor toward the garage, he sensed Tyler's gaze bore into him, a mix of confusion and frustration hanging in the air like static electricity. In the garage, as he worked with his hands, Jim let the sounds of metal and machinery feed his thoughts. He understood that creating something of value took time and commitment, qualities that he recognized were not present in the aspirations Tyler expressed. But could he teach his son what he knew without stifling his ambition? Moments later, bringing back Mr. Collins to the house, an idea sparked in Jim's mind. "Tyler, why don't you come out here for a second?" He could feel Jenna's tension behind him, but he pressed on. He needed to engage, as Jim shared the troubleshooting process he had learned over the years. A realization washed over him. Perhaps this could serve as a bridge. If he involved Tyler in the hands-on experience of fixing the car, it could illustrate the value of effort through tangible results. But as the words left his mouth, he hesitated, wondering if Tyler would view it as mere labor or an opportunity for growth. To his surprise, Tyler approached slowly, albeit uncertainly, and joined, taking the wrench from Jim's hand. "I guess I could try." There was a flicker of determination behind his eyes, one that mirrored Jim's Southone drive once upon a time. As the tension in Tyler began to shift, at least momentarily, Jim sensed a shift within himself, to a spark of hope igniting. Maybe this was the foundation they needed. But in their vulnerable attempts to connect, the nagging specter of Jenna loomed. What would she say? How would she respond if Tyler found purpose in labor instead of ease? The words she had spoken earlier clung like grease on his hands. That night, as Jim lay in bed, the practicalities of work loomed large in his mind. He faced a relentless question. How would Tyler react when the harsh realities of hard work confronted the alluring shortcuts of modern life? The earlier encounters had stirred a new resolve within Jim. Tomorrow would bring more than fixing cars. It would serve as a test for Tyler's will, an opportunity for Jim to teach life lessons more valuable than any paycheck. As he stared at the ceiling, pondering the potential for both of them, a troublesome thought invaded. What if Tyler failed this unspoken test? The storm of uncertainty raged inside Jim. Would this be the moment they began to rebuild their bond? Or would it merely reveal another fracture? With dawn approaching, he knew one thing for certain. The coming day would demand courage like no other. Jim woke early, the sunlight streaming through the window casting a warm glow over the room. Yet, the light failed to touch a shadow lurking in the corner of his mind. Today was not just another day. With urgency coursing through him, he sat up, the weight of his responsibilities pressing heavily on his shoulders. He needed to seize this moment with Tyler, an opportunity so many parents only wished for. Heading to the kitchen, Jim's thoughts tumbled like a well-worn toolbox. He split his attention between boiling water for coffee and contemplating how best to engage Tyler. Would he feel resentful of this latest attempt to teach him about hard work? Or could this lead to a true breakthrough in their relationship? He poured himself a mug, trying to ready himself for the moment ahead. Tyler would awaken soon, and Jim needed to be prepared. Not just as a father, but as a mentor. The concept of hard work shouldn't strike terror in Tyler's heart. It should be embraced as a path toward accomplishment. As Jim settled onto a stool at the kitchen counter, he turned his attention to the stack of mail that lay nearby, including a letter from his workplace about an upcoming leadership training program. Every part of him wanted to explore how to advance further in his career. But would he dare take the leap? The commitment would require time and energy, but that was precisely what he needed to instill in Tyler. Morning, Tyler mumbled, dragging himself into the kitchen and plopping down at the table. His disheveled hair and unfocused gaze mirrored the uncertainty gnawing at Jim's stomach. Today could either mark a turning point or extend the chasm between them. "Hey, I was thinking we could work on Mr. Collins' car today," Jim began, studying Tyler's face. Would more resentment brew at the suggestion of labor? "Isn't that what you do when you don't want to deal with your own life?" Tyler replied bitterly, the edge of his words cutting deeper than Jim anticipated. "Tyler, it's not about running away from my life," he countered, feeling his heart race with a mix of frustration and desperation. You know that feeling when you complete a tough project and finally see the results of your hard work? That satisfaction is real. Silently, Tyler picked at a piece of toast, but Jim pressed on. This isn't just about fixing a car. It's about commitment, dedication, qualities worth embracing. The tension in the air thickened, palpable. Would Tyler grasp the concept, or would this turn into another argument? Maybe one day you'll get it, Dad, he muttered, his voice low. But Jim noted a shift in Tyler's body language. A flicker of contemplation mingled with doubt. You think you want a different life, but that comes with a cost, Jim stated. You can have dreams, but you need to be willing to put in the effort. You probably learn more than you think from fixing that car. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Jim's breath fresh with the weight of his words. Would Tyler turn his back like he had done so many times before? Okay, fine. I'll help. Tyler relented, though his irritation simmered just beneath the surface. Great, Jim said, trying to suppress the rush of exhilaration. Let us take it one step at a time. Armed with tools and a willingness to teach, Jim let Tyler out to the garage. Every step forward might unveil a glimpse of Tyler's potential, or reveal frustration that would harden the path ahead. And then, as Tyler leaned closer to inspect the mechanics, something flickered behind his eyes, a hint of curiosity or perhaps a challenge. Jim knew the moment had arrived. Let us find out how this works together, he said, directing his son's focus back to the task ahead. But beneath that eagerness fizzled a subtle tension, a question unspoken yet throbbing with urgency. Would this moment prove to be a revelation for both of them, or yet another checkpoint in their unresolved journey? As they maneuvered through the complexities of the vehicle, Jim wrestled with the implications of their task. Would Tyler embrace this struggle, or would it catalyze another conflict between them, one they desperately needed to avoid? The road ahead twisted like an unstable tire on a bumpy path, full of possibilities and pitfalls, and they were driving straight into an unknown destination. The engine lay before them like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Jim's fingers tightened around the wrench as he looked to Tyler, who had taken a reluctant interest in the task. For a fleeting moment, he imagined their success, a car humming a tune of hard-earned victory. All right, first let's check the oil level, Jim instructed, his voice steady, careful not to show any agitation that might provoke Tyler. The younger man knelt beside the engine, following Jim's lead, though the reluctance still clung to his posture. Jim chose to embrace this quiet moment, analyzing it for what it represented. Beneath the surface of childhood rebellion and teenage apathy, he sensed the stirrings of a burgeoning maturity. But would this task really highlight Tyler's willingness to engage with the world, or merely be a snapshot of complacency? Here's the dipstick, Jim pointed, demonstrating how to ensure the proper oil level. Tyler mimicked the motion. His fingers are now engaged in dialogue with the engine. The challenge loomed larger than the metal before him. Tyler seemed to teeter between disinterest and eagerness, but as he wiped the dipstick clean, Jim caught a glimpse of something deeper. Was that a hint of concentration knitted with determination? The thought electrified Jim. He fought the impulse to voice his excitement, fearing that it might break the focus Tyler clung to. All right, it looks good. Now let us check the spark plugs, Jim suggested, wondering if he could keep this momentum alive. He was determined to foster Tyler's interest but steered clear of pushing too hard. Balance was key. After a quick lesson on disconnecting the battery, Jim observed Tyler's movements with bated breath, wanting nothing more than to see a spark of understanding ignite. Yet, doubt lingered. Would Tyler perceive this as an act of restraint or embrace it as newfound freedom? Just then, a flicker of frustration flicked across Tyler's face when he struggled to extract the plug. Flashes of Jim's own past failures surfaced, and that familiar sense of inadequacy threatened to resurface. You've got this, Jim encouraged, keeping his tone light despite the anxiety threading through him. Takes practice to master things like this. Remember how I had to learn to adapt when things didn't go as planned? Tyler paused, looking up at him. This brief exchange felt weighty, fraught with layers of communication far deeper than mere car mechanics. Jim felt a voice within him urging him to seize the moment to tie his own struggles to the lessons Tyler needed to absorb. Believe it or not, I've had my share of missteps. The first time I tried fixing anything, I messed it up completely. Jim knew he walked a tightrope between vulnerability and teaching, but each time it pushed me to improve and understand. A softening washed over Tyler's face, his resolve seeming to shift. Did he see the connection Jim was trying to forge? The irony that fatherhood mirrored their mechanical endeavor, constantly turning wrenches to tighten or unearth truths, sometimes uncomfortably close to the heart. As they continued, Jim absorbed every moment, the mud on their fingers, the grease staining their skin. It all became part of a broader narrative. Each task they navigated felt like threading a bond between father and son. Then, clearly gaming for approval, Tyler leaned in closely, determination lining his brow. "Let us get this done," he said, less bitter than before. Jim exhaled, fighting the surge of hope swelling in his chest, yet bracing himself for the inevitable twist their communication often took. But before they could finish the spark plug installation, Tyler's phone buzzed. Jim felt a familiar pang of worry. What disruption might this bring? As his son stepped away to answer, a small fissure appeared in the hard-won connection they had begun to forge. The time seemed to stretch as Tyler's brow furrowed deeper, surprise etching his features. Jim watched, tension arcing between them, wondering whether the call would deepen Tyler's commitment or send him spiraling back into disengagement. "Dad, it's about the job I was telling you about," Tyler said, uncertainty dripping from his voice. "I might need to rethink some things." In that moment, Jim felt his heart sink, clarity dawning like headlight on dark roads ahead. The stakes had risen dramatically. Would Tyler follow this new question with an opportunity, or use it as another way to disengage? As Jim instinctively leaned in, prepared for a pivotal dialogue, the car waited patiently in the background, an unfinished project that mirrored their fragile relationship. What decisions lay ahead? Only time would reveal whether they would repair not just a vehicle, but also the fissures in their partnership. Would they finally push forward together or falter on the brink of something significant? Tyler's fingers lingered on the phone screen, uncertainty crystallizing in his expression. Jim resisted the urge to pry, his heart pounding with a latent tension. He could sense this moment diverging into a realm where emotions threatened to unravel the connection they had begun to stitch together. "Are you okay?" Jim finally asked, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. He knew Tyler's job search was pivotal. It embodied not just his son's aspirations, but also echoed Jim's own dreams and frustrations, unsuccessful attempts that had tested his resolve over the years. "I'm just trying to get everything sorted," Tyler replied, his tone shifting like a leaf in the wind. "I might back out of the internship." The words hit Jim harder than expected, like a wrench thrown into their fledgling camaraderie. That cryptic tone implied uncertainty that sent razor-sharp doubts slicing through Jim's mind. Why would Tyler retreat? They had made such strides in the garage, hadn't they? "Why would you do that?" Jim pressed, stepping cautiously through the minefield of his son's emotions. "What has changed?" Tyler let out a hesitant sigh, the tension in his shoulders betraying a deeper struggle beneath the surface. "I just don't think I'm ready. Everyone else seems to have it figured out. And his voice trailed off, the words hanging in the air like an unresolved note. "Honestly, I've been in your shoes." Jim's instinct was to connect, to draw upon their shared experience both as father and son. "When I started working, I felt like a complete mess. Can be overwhelming to step into adulthood, trust me." "But Dad, you figured it out. You have a career," Tyler shot back, the frustration in his voice escalating to an edge that was hard to miss. It was a challenge, a probing into Jim's choices, decisions that had often felt like wounds too raw to confront. "I did, but it didn't come easy," Jim rejoined, keeping his composure. "Each decision was a step on a long path filled with uncertainties. The important part is to keep moving, even when the road gets rocky." Tyler's eyes flickered away. He seemed to wrestle with something just beneath the surface. Jim could almost see the gears turning in his son's mind, weighing the burdens of expectation against his latent potential. What would emerge from this confrontation? "Well, maybe I'm not cut out for it," Tyler finally admitted, the admission laced with an unexpected vulnerability. "Maybe I don't want to get stuck in a cubicle or miss out on, living." The truth struck Jim like a flash of insight. It was not just about the job, it was about Tyler's notion of freedom, the fear of confinement. Jim remembered feeling paralyzed at that age, caught between duty and the blazing desire to forge one's own path. "Living doesn't mean you have to abandon your responsibilities," Jim countered gently, feeling the weight of the dialogue shift. "It's about finding a balance. You can work and still create a life you enjoy. But you always seem to suggest I do this or that. What about my own vision?" Tyler spat out, agitation boiling over. Jim's heart sank at the raw honesty. He hadn't considered how the weight of his own ambitions pressed upon Tyler. In a flash, he understood that in his eagerness to mentor, he had inadvertently boxed his son into a corner. I didn't mean to limit your choices. I want you to find your way, even if it's different from mine. The silence hung between them, pregnant with potential revelations. Tyler's expression softened, revealing flickers of recognition in his eyes. Maybe I need to take some time, Tyler offered, uncertainty threading through his words. Reevaluate what I really want. Jim nodded, allowing the tension to ebb slightly. And I'm here to help you through that, no pressure to figure it all out just yet. As Tyler stood lost in thought, Jim felt a surge of both hope and apprehension. Could this moment be the catalyst Tyler needed for his own journey? They were at a crossroads, one where clarity and doubts danced together like shadows in the fading light. What would this mean for Jim and Tyler? With the air thick with unsaid things, Jim realized they were intertwined in a delicate web of choices that extended beyond the engine before them. Together they faced a turning point. Would they truly embrace the unknown, or get trapped within their fears? Just as that thought settled in, Tyler's phone buzzed again, breaking the fragile stillness and pulling him away from their talk. Jim leaned in, fearing the worst. Was this a pivotal moment they were about to miss, or could it bring them closer? Tyler's focus shifted abruptly to his phone as the notification chimed, and he instinctively reached for it. The urgency in the sound shattered the moment, prompting a quick glance at the message flashing on the screen. Jim watched as a myriad of emotions played across his son's face, a panorama of interest, anticipation, and tension. The conversation they had been weaving was suddenly eclipsed by whatever awaited him in that digital space. Who is it? Jim asked, his curiosity piqued despite the undercurrents of anxiety bubbling to the surface. He had wanted to approach the stammering vulnerability that marked Tyler's earlier admission, but felt it retreating just as quickly. It's my friend from school. He got an internship offer, Tyler replied, a mixture of excitement and envy tinging his voice. I thought everyone was waiting to hear back. Are you surprised? Jim pressed, feeling a strange mix of pride for his son accompanied by frustration. Why do you always compare yourself to others? Your journey doesn't have to trace theirs. I know, but it's hard not to, Tyler snapped, frustration creeping back like weeds in a garden. He was clueless last semester, and now he is sitting pretty. Meanwhile, I'm in my head. Jim took a deep breath, contemplating how to navigate through his son's rising tide of doubt. What does he know that you don't? Or is this just a matter of who speaks first? Did he take more risks? Every word opened a door in Tyler's mind. For a moment he hesitated, caught in a reflective pause. Yes, just more convincing, I guess. He sends a better resume or some shit, he replied bitterly. Or maybe it's how he sees himself, Jim suggested, allowing the word convincing to resonate. What if you started believing in your own value? Could it change the way you present your skills? Tyler's finger dropped from the screen as a frown etched deeper lines on his forehead. Easier said than done, Dad. You speak about risks, but I don't even know how to take the first step. Start where you are. Define what you want your story to be. Not in comparison to anyone else. You have strengths that can outshine anyone's average resume, Jim encouraged, tapping into a well of inspiration he had long sought himself. What are you truly passionate about? Tyler leaned back, crossing his arms defensively, wrestling with a sudden rush of vulnerability. It was a moment of self-exploration he had avoided. I like working on cars. But I also want to travel. I don't want to just be another cog in the machine. Jim nodded, excitement brewing as they approached the path of clarity that Tyler had been blind to. Then use that passion. Look for a way to merge what you love with what you need. Could you explore internships focused in automotive design? Or perhaps a trade related to travel? As Jim spoke, Tyler's body language shifted slightly, the tension coursing through him transforming into something more contemplative. The walls he built slowly seemed to budge, revealing glimpses of passion and possibility. Maybe I could. But I don't know where to start, Tyler admitted, folding slightly under the weight of his thoughts. What if I fall flat on my face? Then you get back up. Falling is part of learning. You'll always have options, Jim replied, his steady voice a buoy against the onslaught of fear. And I'll be here to support you. no matter what direction you choose. A flicker of determination danced across Tyler's features. I guess it does help to talk about it. Maybe I have to put myself out there more, he mused, peering into the burgeoning possibility ahead. Exactly. Jim smiled, warmth spreading within him as the green shoots of confidence peeked through Tyler's earlier despair. That's growth. You don't need all the answers right now, just the willingness to explore. The air between them had shifted yet again, weaving new threads of their connection. Tyler picked up his phone, a renewed sense of purpose evident in his posture. I'm gonna text him. Might as well ask if he has any tips. Couldn't he hurt, right? Absolutely, stay engaged. Reach beyond your comfort zone. It's where growth lives, Jim encouraged, heart swelling with pride. Yet just as Tyler began to respond to the message, another notification chimed. This time, a different name flashed across the screen, someone from the past, someone Jim hadn't expected to hear from. Who was that? Jim asked, a sense of dread creeping in. The moment hung heavy, filled with uncertainty about what this could mean. Would this contact alter the course of their conversation, or would it lead Tyler further astray? Tyler stared at the screen, the familiarity of the name sending a ripple of unease through him. It was an old friend, someone who had shared more than laughs in the past. Someone who had always played the role of the overachiever, their achievements seemingly effortless in stark contrast to Tyler's own struggles. As the message lingered on the screen, that impending sense of confrontation loomed. Are you gonna open it? Jim asked, his own apprehension flavored by curiosity. I will, Tyler muttered, hesitating. He sensed that this exchange might unlock some door, either into a nostalgia he missed or a reminder of lingering inadequacies. After all, this friend was yet another benchmark against which he measured himself. As Tyler opened the message, he felt a rush of nostalgia mixed with anxiety. The friend wanted to catch up, wanted to gather the old crew for drinks and reminiscing. But there it was, unspoken yet deafening the approval and validation he craved, hanging like a shadow over his thoughts. What do you think? Jim prompted gently, studying his son's expression. Just old times, Tyler replied, avoiding further details. I don't know, Dad. It feels like I'm being pulled back into something I've been trying to escape. We can't always escape our past, Tyler, Jim offered softly, eyes steady. But recognizing how far you've come can reveal so much about who you are now and who you want to be moving forward. The words weighed heavily in the space between them. Tyler shifted in his seat, intertwining his fingers protectively. Anxiety bubbling like a soda can shake in too many times. The fear of measuring himself against memories, against others who seemingly had it all figured out, flickered within him. What if they see me as just the kid who couldn't hack it? He muttered, a tinge of despair creeping into his tone. That's your narrative to write. What do you want them to see? Jim's urging voice sought to peel back Tyler's insecurities like layers of an onion, each new discovery painful yet enlightening. Tyler took a breath, the edge of frustration stirring his thoughts. I want to show that I'm not the same. I want them to see I'm working on something bigger than I ever dreamed. But I don't know how, he admitted. Take the leap, Tyler. Reconnect. Set your narrative straight. Don't let them write it for you. Jim leaned in, words impassioned. Show them your journey. Show them your struggles. Your authenticity is what makes you compelling. The quiet intensity in Jim's voice resonated. There was now urgency underlying Tyler's sense of vulnerability. It wasn't just about confronting stagnant friendships. It was about using his history to fuel his evolution. He could seize the moment, could harness what he'd learned in the depths of his insecurity. What if I mess it up? Tyler's self-doubt was an intruder, worming its way into the newfound resolve. Then it's a lesson, one more step in a long journey of growth. Throw the ideal of perfection out the window, Jim replied, his eyes unwavering. This is about who you truly are today. Tyler's heart raced. Slowly, beneath layers of doubt and apprehension, a flicker of determination ignited. You're right. I can't be afraid of how they might perceive me. I'll reach out. I'll take control of my narrative for once. His fingers tapped against the screen as he typed a quick reply, each keystroke intertwining doubt with a blossoming sense of purpose. The euphoria of taking a proactive step surged. For the first time in a long while, he could feel the winds of change stirring. Then something else urged to the surface. An idea. The prospect of using this gathering to unveil not just his presence, but his direction, his ambitions. Maybe I could pitch my passion for automotive design, even mention my desire to travel, he brainstormed out loud, his previously uncertain expression shifting to tentative excitement. That's the spirit. You're not just showing up. You're sharing a vision. As Tyler sent the message, anticipation mixed with anxiety ignited a thrill within him. Yet that sense of soaring promise was momentarily muted as another notification chimed. It was the same familiar name, now accompanied by a photo, a snapshot from years gone by that evoked bittersweet memories. What now? Tyler mumbled, a knot of complex emotions retreating as curiosity replaced them. He hadn't anticipated this development. The moment was volatile, fraught with possibilities and laden with tension. Would this image pull him back into circles he had left behind, or would it serve as an impetus to firmly root himself in his new path? Tyler's pulse quickened as he clicked on the notification. The photo revealed his old friend, Mark, arms draped around familiar faces, friends who had been fixtures in Tyler's life, at times reminding him of the steps he hadn't taken. He felt the weight of nostalgia wash over him, but with it, a wave of obligation he seemed to have been actively avoiding. Mark's face beamed with an enthusiasm that seemed to mock the uncertainty brewing in Tyler's chest. He'd always been the charismatic one. Success oozed from him like the oily sheen of a well-polished car. The old feelings of inadequacy started to creep back, fanning the ember of fear. Yet, as Tyler looked closer at Mark's smile, he reminded himself that this was an older version of the boy he once knew. A boy not enriched by the intricate life experiences that had molded him into who he was today. What are you thinking? Jim interjected, sensing the shift in Tyler, his keen eyes evaluating the tumult taking form on his son's face. I can't shake this feeling that I'm not enough. Like I'm letting everyone down by not being the person they expect? Tyler confessed, struggling against the backdrop of this resurfacing past. The judgment he feared felt like a silent wave lapping against the shore of his identity, beckoning for him to either succumb to its influence or step forward into his own narrative. Do you want their validation? Jim countered, leaning back with genuine curiosity. Is that what fuels you, or is it still that little boy longing to belong? You have a choice. The question hit Tyler with a force he hadn't anticipated. He could hear his father's voice unravel the tangled threads of his insecurity, framing it into a perspective he hadn't considered. Validation was often elusive, but the real question should be, what did he seek from this gathering? Would he go for them or for himself? Tyler weighed the notion against the metaphorical scale in his mind. It wasn't about gaining approval. It was about connecting with people he once cared for while showing them an evolved version of himself, a gesture of triumph over the challenges that had previously shackled him. Perhaps I should focus on what I've been working on, who I am now instead of the shadow of who I was. I don't know, he replied, his voice softening. Then make that your foundation. Share your journey, your projects. They should see the man you are and the man you're becoming, Jim encouraged, his calm demeanor contrasting against Tyler's inner turmoil. Taking a moment, Tyler contemplated the goals he'd put in place for himself. The automotive design work was coming along slowly but surely, and he was passionate about designing vehicles that harmonize functionality with environmental consideration, a radical concept in his mind. Providing that insight in a casual setting might forge connections beyond mere nostalgia. It might elicit respect as someone with a vision. He decided to go for it. A sense of determination took root as he prepared how to reveal this new dimension of himself. Crafting ideas about possibilities rather than reliving memories, he felt freer, empowered by the prospect of authenticity instead of the tired facade of perfection. As planning took shape within his mind, Tyler drafted a mental checklist centered on how each point might evolve into a robust conversation. He envisioned launching into his work, how he had used setbacks as stepping stones. But an insidious doubt tried to creep in. What if they didn't care? What if they mocked him? Everything you've learned is a platform to build on. As long as it's genuine, it has value, Jim reassured him, projecting a calm stance as if to offset Tyler's rising anxiety. Okay, Tyler breathed as clarity began to brush back the confusion. I'll express who I am. I'll let them in on my journey. With a purposeful nod, he marveled at the layers of his previous self that had begun to leave like a snake shedding its skin. Yet, A new concern bubbled beneath. Was he ready to confront them without armor? The stirring thought persisted. He was stepping into a round of conversations that could either reinforce or dismantle the scaffolding of his identity. The challenge seemed formidable and thrilling, each nerve humming alive with potential liberation. But before he could dwell too long on the risks of connection, another notification chimed, this time stating that the reunion was set for next weekend. Tyler's heart skipped. Next weekend, he murmured, the weight of time pressing upon him. Two competing emotions surfacing. Excitement and intimidation. Yet, this wasn't just a step backward into his past. It felt alive with the potential to redefine his narrative. What awaited him wasn't just a reunion, it would be a reckoning. As he pondered the implications, Tyler was blindsided by one final thought. Was he truly ready to rewrite the story they all thought they knew? That question lingered uneasily. The answer shadowed in uncertainty. Tyler woke early the next morning. The thought of the reunion still an electric current beneath his skin. He could hardly focus on breakfast, his mind racing through the different scenarios that might unfurl in the coming days. How would he present himself? Would they see the meaningful work he poured his heart into, or the remnants of the boy they once knew? With each bite of toast, the checklist he deconstructed in his mind took form. The projects he wanted to showcase, the progress he had made, and the ideas he so fervently believed in, each item blooming like a vibrant flower desperate for sunlight. Yet, the same whispering doubt threatened to choke them back down. What if his efforts failed to impress? What if they didn't resonate? He knew he had to confront these insecurities, but they gnawed at him relentlessly. It would be easy to slip back into the comfort of avoidance, to cancel and retreat. But as he stood at the sink washing his hands, the reflection staring back at him felt different, more grounded, more aware. He was no longer just that unsure young man. He was someone shaped by challenges, a designer with a vision. This reunion could be more than nostalgia. It could be a stepping stone to the connections he long desired. After breakfast, he dove into his automotive projects, giving himself the space to articulate the passion that fueled him. He hadn't only designed vehicles. He was crafting experiences. Each sketch he completed reinforced his resolve. The hurdles he had triumphed over became part of his talking points. Not strings of defeat but threads of resilience that illustrated the essence of who he was now. Later that day, Tyler reached for his laptop. He spent hours curating a concise presentation, one that didn't boast but shared. With each slide he glimpsed the potential for meaningful conversation, a bridge to span the void between his past and present. Instead of seeking validation, he resolved to share inspiration, his evolution as both a designer and a man. As he clicked through the slides, anticipation drummed in his chest. Would they be curious? Would they listen? This stimulating amalgam of fear and excitement pushed him forward. The realization that he was opening a door to vulnerability struck him as powerful. Vulnerability was the true test of strength, not merely what he presented but how he connected with those who had once known him. Then it dawned on him. He would use humor to disarm the tension. His sketches often showcased odd, innovative designs inspired by nature. Perhaps he could spin a narrative around each one, making the audience chuckle at the folly of certain ideas while instilling the thought behind every choice he made. Just as he was putting the finishing touches to his presentation, a familiar voice cut through his focus. Jim walked into the room, a smug smile plastered across his face. "I'm curious to see how you plan to present yourself at the reunion," he noted, his tone teasing yet genuine. Tyler paused, assessing whether he should divulge the depth of preparation or keep it light. Instead he smiled. "Just sharing the journey, Dad. Trying to let go of needing to impress. Offering a glimpse of who I've become." Jim's face brightened, but Tyler could sense a deeper recognition simmering beneath the surface. "Sounds like you're ready to be seen for who you are, not just who you were." Tyler nodded. Living the truth of it solidified another layer of his readiness. But deep down a new concern simmered. What if his past self was a shadow too large to outrun? The encounter could lead to painful comparisons or belittling remarks fueled by old memories. Sure, but what if they can't see past their own memories? He wondered aloud, the question hanging heavily in the air. Sometimes, Tyler, others can only see what you show them. The real test is how you choose to navigate through it. Make your authenticity a priority, Jim replied, his words a gentle nudge toward fortitude amidst uncertainty. As the evening wore on, Tyler felt the weight of his soul begin to lighten. His sketches, his words, and his dedication would serve as his armor against the unrelenting judgments he feared. He lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, ruminating on the core decision awaiting him. Was he prepared to stand openly in front of those who may or may not recognize the man he had become? As dawn crept in, he knew one thing for certain. It was time to prepare for a confrontation, not with the past, but with his own doubts, and that was the battle that felt the most daunting of all. Would he find that courage to redefine who he was in their eyes, or would he retreat into familiar shadows? The time for answers was fast approaching. As the day of the reunion arrived, Tyler stood before the mirror, taking in his reflection a fusion of anticipation and nerves coursing through him. He had spent countless hours gathering his thoughts, rehearsing his speech like a musician preparing for a debut performance. With every passing moment, he felt the weight of his journey pressing upon him, but he also sensed an undercurrent of excitement tied to the authenticity he had embraced. He was ready, not just to reconnect with old friends, but to showcase the culmination of his dedication, his automotive designs, his evolving vision, and yes, even the struggles he had faced to get there. This was not a presentation rooted in seeking validation. It was about sharing a journey that had shaped him into the person he was now, a designer with purpose, a man on the brink of his own narrative. Arriving at the venue, Tyler's heart raced. He spotted familiar faces that sparked a mixture of nostalgia and apprehension. Voices filled the air, laughter mingling with the sound of clinking glasses. But instead of feeling swallowed by memories of his past self, he was invigorated by a newfound strength. He was here to be seen, to speak his truth among those who had once known him as a boy gripped by uncertainty. Hey, look who showed up. Mark, his old friend, greeted him. The exuberant laughter of the group filled the space, and Tyler's throat tightened. The one-time voice of confidence now felt like a tempest ready to unravel him. But he quelled the rising anxieties within him, drawing from the lessons of his past. He could choose to step up. Good to see you, Mark, Tyler replied, forcing a smile that felt comfortable, even as nostalgia clawed at the shadows of his self-doubt. As the evening forged ahead and the conversations flowed, Tyler felt the pull of old narratives threatening to ensnare him once more. Mark's achievements were paraded with ease, accolades that dripped off his tongue like honey. Yet, Tyler caught the itch of comparison sneaking up yet again. Would he succumb to the echoes of inadequacy? He reminded himself of what his father had said. Your journey is your story to write. When a lull in conversation presented itself, Tyler seized the opportunity to step forward, determined to share his own evolution. I actually have some designs I'd like to show you guys, he announced, heart-surging as he pulled his sketches from his portfolio. Audience eyes turned to him, curiosity sparked, and he felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. Instead of falling into the shadow of what I thought I should be, I'm focusing on what I want to create. I am passionate about merging functionality with sustainability in car design. The skepticism that clung to the air lifted, replaced by intrigue. He spoke confidently about his projects, elaborating on how he merged innovation with practicality. He felt empowered as he articulated his vision, supported not by grandiose claims, but by authentic truths. To his surprise, he wished to end the presentation with a piece he reserved for last, a prototype that reflected his love for nature and automotive design. With a flick of a switch, the projector displayed his heartfelt vision, an electric vehicle modeled after the flowing lines of a river, emphasizing harmony with the environment. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and he could see genuine interest riveted in their eyes. For the first time, he wasn't wanting their approval to feel worthy. He felt the pride swell within him, the acknowledgement of hard work leading him to this moment. Mark approached Tyler, awe radiating from his expression. This is incredible. Why didn't you show us sooner? He smiled, sharing a breath of relief that transcended pride. It was a moment of validation not anchored in their perception but in his own acceptance of self-worth. I guess I needed to find my voice, Tyler replied, the sincerity of the moment enveloping them. To feel comfortable expressing who I really am. It's not just about how I measure up to the rest of you but what I bring to the table. As conversations shifted, other guests flocked around him, asking questions, appreciating the journey he laid bare. The accolades poured forth, grounded by a shared understanding of resilience that energized the evening. With every interaction, Tyler felt his bond with his past deepen, not as a source of shame, but as threads weaving into the fabric of his identity. That night, he achieved more than just recognition. He conquered the insecurities that had long held him captive. Stepping back into the crowd, he found Jim leaning against a nearby wall, a proud smile lighting his face. Their eyes met, and Tyler knew the journey he had traversed had not just changed him. It enhanced the connection they shared. Tomorrow, a new reality awaited them, one where Tyler could embrace the unseen possibilities of his growth. With renewed confidence igniting within him, he whispered a promise to himself. This was no longer about comparison or seeking validation. It was about blazing his own trail, embodying the fusion of his aspirations and authentic self. The reunion was only the beginning. It unveiled a renewed synergy between who he was and who he could become. Embrace your journey, Tyler thought, exhaling a liberated breath. This was the threshold of transformation, and he was finally ready to cross into the new chapter of his life. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss our next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about Tyler's journey. Let us know what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion.